question now, though, for the likes of Lang and those men in the final is how much do they have left in the tank? Because this is where it really, really matters.
Athletes, you're now in the hands of the starter.
So the men's final here in Lievin gets underway. It's a 200-meter swim, 8 lengths of this 25-meter pool. And already we've got eyes on Mitch Kolkman, who looks... I want to say he's in front. I'm trying to find which one he is.
Yeah, no, I think Mitch Kolkman is on the very, very far side of the pool, but he's got company.
He certainly does. Duval of France there making the turn.
Of course, yes, Antoine Duval, incredibly classy swimmer as well. And then in the very middle of the pool, wearing those German colours, that's Henry Graf. That's the long, rangy stroke that I talked about. And it is funny with swimming, it's often the ones who look the easiest in the water are actually the ones who are the fastest. It sort of seems counterintuitive. They don't look fast, but they are super fast.
And what we're seeing now is we're seeing a few of the athletes here take control of their lane. They're out in front of their lane partner, as it were. I mean, sharing a lane, quite unusual in triathlon, Vicky.
Very much so, not something we're used to at all. And someone like Mitch Kolkman, we should say, he's got a real disadvantage because he is the fastest swimmer in the field, but he's having to swim up against the wall. There's no lane rope, there's nothing there to protect him from the wash that's coming off the wall against him. And he's got 12 athletes in that pool making a huge amount of wash, and he's having to sort of absorb it as it comes off the wall. So there's no question that'll be slowing him down. I wonder if it's going to take the edge off the times that we might have expected to see from him.
It won't surprise you. Oh, there you go. You can just see there, can't you, in shot, the two athletes sharing a lane, neck and neck. And that's exactly what we're talking about.
And that won't be helping them either. That will be making them slower. And those two athletes, one of whom was Hayden Wild. Hayden Wild looking a long way down right now. Just crossing paths with Mitch Kolkman going in the opposite direction. And that could be critical. This is what we talked about. This is the Cassandra Bourgoin style of racing. Are they going to be able to get a gap that he just can't get back to?
So Kolkman makes that look pretty effortless, actually, getting out the pool.
I make it, he touched again in about a 157, 158. And again, considering he's in an outside lane, incredibly impressive swimming.
And certainly from Hayden Wild's point of view, as he gets, well, pretty much last out of the pool there.
So we're just waiting for a time split to come up still. 14 seconds out of that swim. Now that really could be decisive. This is where Hayden Wild has to be his very best. A, through transition, and B, out onto the bike.
He's certainly leaving a lot to do, but let's focus our attention, shall we, right at the front. Mitch Kolkman leads. He's been used to over the last few races we've seen here today. He goes out hard. He'll go out first and fast. And that looks exactly like what he's doing now.
Exactly, that's been his method through the heats, it's been his method through the semi-finals. He's going out hard, he's making other people chase him. And that has helped him every single race. There's a really specific reason, why he's doing that now as well. He has got 3/4 of a lap on Hayden Wild. We can see the whole lap where we're stood here. He's got 3/4 of a lap on Hayden already. Hayden has got his work cut out here. He needs to absolutely give everything on the bike to just make it back in the pack.
It's fair to say Hayden Wild looked very, very good on the run across today. So
yeah, he's looked very in control, hasn't he?
Exactly. We might have a lot left in the tank, but this form of triathlon seems to be exposing his swimming ability as things stand.
We did see him do an interview after the semi-final where he sort of, with a little smirk, acknowledged that his pool swimming isn't really his forte. And unfortunately, he's found himself up against some of the best pool swimmers in triathlon today. And that's why he's found himself exposed here. What he's doing very well, though, is he's keeping that pressure on and he's slowly making his way back up to that main big group. So there are the 3 athletes away at the front. We've got Mitch Kolkman, Henry Graf, and the young... Is it young? No, of course it's not. Sorry, it's Antoine Duval. Sorry, my bad. It's my mistake. It is Antoine Duval who's in that pack as well. So those 3 are at the front and they are away. Then there is most of the other athletes are in one main pack, and then behind that we've got Hayden. Hayden's now only about 40 meters or so behind that main group.
Yeah, David Lang, part of that group as well, holding his own, the young Luxembourg athletes here in Lievin. All right, so We've got 8 laps left to go. It really does go past in the blink of an eye here. You blink and you miss it. You
get a bit
really
dizzy
do.
watching it, don't you? Sort of, hang on, where's the front again?
Yeah, kind of makes the audience look like they're watching tennis rather than triathlon. But
Yeah.
there we go. So,
and 200 meters on the track when you're on a road bike and when they're absolutely going full gas, it goes by so fast.
So that leading group seems to be sharing the load out in front.
That's exactly what they should be doing if they want to go into T2 here with a healthy gap on the likes of Hayden Wild and those athletes coming from behind. They have to share the workload. They know that someone like Hayden is going to be working incredibly hard behind them, and they've got no choice but to work together.
Yeah, Graf in that group now, who's just going out in front. He's got experience in this distance. He was 5th in 2022, but he's also done very, very well in the e-triathlon championships as well, where they're stationary on a bike, stationary on the treadmill. So he knows what it takes to do very, very well at this super sprint distance.
Yeah, and added to that, he's just become renowned. Even though he's still quite a young athlete, he's become really renowned for his bike strength and his bike power. I've heard other athletes talk about how hard it is to race against him when he's really going for it. So he's putting that to good use here.
He certainly is. 2 laps left of the bike, and we've definitely got a couple of groups. They've got that group out in front, currently led by Coltman, who's, to be fair to him, is holding his own, isn't he?
He really is holding his own. And then this chase pack we've got, for the last couple of laps, I think Shasha Sagiv has sat on the front of that pack, and I'm really surprised that someone like Hayden Wild hasn't taken upon himself to try and go to the front and push it on. Now, he had to put in a really big effort, of course, to get onto that group, but his chances of winning surely rely on him being a little bit closer to the front.
Yeah, he's second from last, actually, at the back with James Edgar of Ireland. So this will be fascinating to see what happens. But let's look at the transition zone. Graf is in there. The rest of the athletes all arrive. There's a bit of traffic. It's kind of chaotic as you see the bikes clashing with each other.
Yeah, certain athletes racking whilst other athletes are trying to exit. Hayden Wild having a really sluggish transition here, and he's normally incredibly slick at this point of the race.
He's got it all to do then on this run as Mitch Coltman leads them out on 5 laps of this 200-meter track. Graf in second and Duval in third.
I mean, we'll never write off Hayden Wild. We know what he can do on the run, and a kilometre is still 2.5 minutes or so, a little bit more of running. But he has put himself in a really difficult position here. He's going to have to overtake 10 athletes if he wants to make it to the front.
We're going to get the pleasure of Hayden Wild on the T100 this year. We know he's been training hard for Singapore in a few weeks' time. In the heat and in the humidity, this is a very different type of race. He will, however, as the highest ranked athlete, hope to be better, hope to get further forward here, and hope to have a say on what happens in the final few stages.
I mean, we know he hasn't peaked for this event. We know where his focus lies this year, and it is with the T100, as well as trying to do as well as he can do in the World Series, the short course racing. So this is a bit of a sharpener race, he said, but because it's Hayden and because we know how versatile he is and how well he races almost every single time he takes to the start line, we expect him to win. That's just how we feel about Hayden. He's now just starting to make his way around that pack, but he's not gaining on those leaders at anywhere near the pace that he needs to if he wants to win this race.
Well, you might there have heard the cheers of the French crowd because they realise that they've got a French athlete here with a very, very good chance of winning. You can see the MC raising his hands here in the stadium. Antoine Duval here in second has got an excellent chance as he's on the back of Mitch Coltman, Henry Graf just behind, the three of them leading this final here in Lievin and looking very, very good. I think it's going to be these three as we see a pretty big gap between the group behind.
Yeah, that gap hasn't come down anywhere near fast enough, and I just think these three have done enough. Antoine Duval was 9th here last year, but he hasn't really done anything other than European Cup podium, so this would be his highest level of achievement were he to podium here today. And it's worth saying, he did not look good in the heats earlier today. He's looked incredible in this final.
He has, but you know who's looked even better? Henry Graf, who is absolutely marching on the back straight here. He looks in fantastic shape as he's reaching this final few corners.
And Antoine Duval's gone for one last surge to really try and secure that silver medal.
But you know what? Henry Graff, who was here last year, he made the final. But you know what? This is his time. Henry Graff wins in Lievin, and he is the T1 Indoor World Cup champion for 2025. What a sprint finish that was. Duval from France in second, Coltman in third, and Leo Fernandez in fourth.
That was some racing. Hayden there crossing the line in fifth. There was a real bunch sprint from that pack behind. There was a lot of them coming in really close to one another, but that is why this type of racing is so exciting, because it shows anything can happen.
All right, so confirmation then that Graff wins. He's in first place. Second was Antoine Duval. Mitch Coltman of the Netherlands in third. Leo Fernandez in fourth. Very, very good result for him. Disappointment, I'm sure, for Hayden Wild, although, as we mentioned, he might not quite have been in this sort of form for this type of event coming here. And Nathan Greal of France also in seventh.